Let's take a look at exercise 9.3.31. A loading ramp in a steel yard has a horizontal run that is 24 feet longer than its vertical rise. If the ramp is 29 feet long, what is the vertical rise? So the diagram has been set up for you, and we basically here need to use Pythagorean's theorem. And Pythagorean's theorem tells us that if I have a right triangle, then the sum of the squares of the legs, so in this right triangle, the legs are x plus 24 and x. Those are the two sides that form the right triangle, and the hypotenuse is 29. So Pythagorean's theorem says the sum of the squares of the legs equals the square of the hypotenuse. And remember, when you square x plus 24, you don't just get x plus 24 squared, but x squared plus 24 squared, but you get x squared plus 2 times x times 24 as a middle term. Alright, so let's expand these terms out. We have x squared plus 48x plus 576. And when I add another x squared, I now have 2x squared, and that equals to 841. So to get this in standard form, we need to subtract 841 from both sides. Okay, so 2x squared plus 48x minus 265 is equal to 0. So let's use the quadratic formula on this, where a is 2, b is 48, and c is negative 265. We know that our x will be minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So when we put our values in, we get minus 48 plus or minus the square root of 48 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 265, all divided by 2 times 2. So this is negative 48 plus or minus the square root of 2,304. That's what I get when I square 48. A negative 8 times a negative 265 gives me a positive 2,120. And that's all over 4. So this is minus 48 plus or minus the square root of 4,424 all over 4. Now, When we look back at what the problem's requiring, the problem is telling us to round to 2 decimal places. And one of the things you have to be careful of is rounding too early, because this can change your final result. So the x value where I subtract the radical, minus 48 minus the square root, divided by 4 is negative. So this is not going to be applicable. So this is not applicable because the length on this, this is the length of one of the legs. That cannot be negative. So we know that this is going to be negative. We cannot use it for this problem. But so our answer is going to come from us adding the radical to negative 48. And because we just want to round our answer, we don't need to simplify the radical. So I'm going to put this directly into my calculator. And putting these values into the calculator and rounding the result to 2 decimal places, I get 4.63. So the vertical rise then is 4.63 feet. And you have to be careful on these, because if you round off too soon, it will throw the answer off. So you want to, if you do any rounding, if you're being told to round to 2 decimal places, you want to do any rounding, you have to do to 5, so that you don't change what this final answer is.